Hi, on this episode of Foster Denovo Talks, Nikos and I talk to our COO, Helen Lovett. She interviewed with Sam Oakes on Financial Planner Life over a year ago. So we talked to her about what changes have happened in the last year, the developments. She talks about acquisitions and how we integrate firms and how we make sure that our cultures are always aligned.
We've grown immensely over the last year, the last 12 months, with 7 acquisitions. People have more opportunity to grow within the business. New roles pop out that you just didn't know you had. We integrate firms straight away. The best way to bring everybody through onto the same page and work together is to get it done.
We also talk about AI and its influence in the financial industry and how Foster Denovo have adopted it to improve its overall efficiency.
So AI makes humans more human, and what it enables us to do is to cut out really dull jobs so that we can concentrate on more value-adding jobs.
We also talk about the future of Foster Denovo and what we think it might hold for us. So do check it out. Hi Helen, thanks for joining us today. How are you?
I am very well, other than I've got a sore throat, as you might be able to tell.
Yeah, you don't sound quite like your normal self, but that's fine. We will crack on.
Please.
And obviously we've got Nikos here today.
Hey, Nikos.
Hi, Helen.
So you have done last year a podcast with Sam Oakes on Financial Planner Life. So you talked about all things Foster Denovo and all the greatness that we've done. So tell us what's changed in the last year.
I mean, the most obvious change, I think, to anyone at FD are the new people that have joined. We've grown immensely over the last year, over the last 12 months, with 7 acquisitions. And, that's all about the new partners that we have, new support teams, new locations, new clients. So, it's been an amazing growth period for us, which has felt so exciting. And everybody in the business, I think, feels that sense of kind of things are moving, things are developing. It's not, it changes so much. It's not just about, obviously the revenue and the location, the obvious signs of growth, but people have more opportunity to grow within the business. New roles pop out that you just didn't know you had because you didn't, right? But suddenly you're in a bigger business that demands more leadership, more management. The amount of progression in our business, whether it be people joining and taking an opportunity to take a role, or people that have been here forever, seeing actually that there is now an opportunity to develop into a new role. I mean, there's so much change and it's all positive. And I think I may have said when Sam Oakes and I spoke that, sometimes when you're in a business that's growing, it's tempting to feel that pressure, the speed that you're having to move at to make sure that you're responding to the new demands. Because let's not pretend that every firm is the same. They're not. They've all the firms we buy, the thing they have in common is their clients are the most important thing to them, perhaps second only to their people. So that's a common thread, but in every other regard, they're all completely different. So you're running around at speed trying to make sure that you're adjusting to new ideas and new people and new places and all of that. And sometimes it can feel even a little bit of a pressure. The thing always I encourage people to reflect on is how much better it is to work in a growing business than a shrinking one. And business only ever shrink or grow. They never stay still. If you think you're in a steady state business, you're just on the cusp of either one or the other, right? They just only go in one direction, one of those two directions. So it is wildly more exciting to be in a business that's growing as fast as we are than it is to be in a business that's wondering if it's about to go up or down, or of course one that's going down. And I really hope that everyone associated with us can kind of see the opportunities that are emerging from the fact that we're now so much bigger than we were.
I mean, it is phenomenal what's happened in the last 2 years. Yeah, it hasn't been easy, has it? It's been quite tense, I would say, at moments. And there's definitely been...
Well, you've had a moan from time to time.
I might have done. I don't know. There's definitely a sort of frenetic energy at points that we have, haven't we? Because we are growing so rapidly. What do you think we're learning from our acquisitions then? Because they are all wildly different, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so. At Foster Denovo, we integrate firms straight away. So we aim for people to feel part of Foster Denovo from the minute that they join, from the most obvious things to do with branding through to, we want people to come and celebrate when we celebrate our Service Excellence Awards. We want all of our offices to dial in, even if they've only been with us for 5 minutes, and I was lucky enough to be in our Glasgow office when they first joined our first Service Excellence Awards presentation. And I was able to, we went on mute and I was able to say, okay, she's done this and she works there and
Yeah.
he does, and so I could kind of bring it to life for them. And so it's integration at that pace, right? I think they'd been with us, a week maybe or something. And all of a sudden they're in the middle of this wild celebration. I'm surprised they stayed really. But it was great. It's hoot. It's great fun. So we integrate really, really fast. And I think a learning would be that at times we could slow up a wee bit. Now, I'm not talking about us taking 12 months. I'm not talking about that. But just at times, we kind of get ourselves, really geared up and really excited. And sometimes we could just take a little bit more time to make sure that we can take account of nuances. Some teams, there are resourcing issues that, you've got to kind of deal with straight away. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I'm talking about mat leave. People go on mat leave, and obviously trying to recruit mat leave cover if you're selling your business is really hard. So you might suddenly find yourself with a business that's acquired that's about to lose a really key person that of course they haven't been able to replace into a business that was in the middle of a transaction. And so you've got to kind of think on the hoof. So I think sometimes we could take a breath.
Yeah.
It's not in our cultural nature.
No,
but I think we could do that.
It definitely isn't, and I do think they have fed that back to us in the past. Like God, we are running at such a full speed, and that's what we do, isn't it? At Foster Denovo, we run all the time, and we're constantly innovating and trying to do new things. And sometimes we don't realize that not everyone does things at the same pace as us. And we find that a bit confusing, I think, sometimes. And we're a bit like, come on, guys. So I completely agree. I mean, one of the things you mentioned there was interesting that, we integrate immediately. There's a lot of firms out there that don't now. And they will leave themselves for, a year or maybe 2 years with a different name above the door or something like that. So why is it that we do that?
So I think there's a human reason to do it, which is that when you see a change up ahead, it tends to cause anxiety. So sitting and looking at a change that might be a year away, it's coming, right? You've agreed you'll do it in a year or you'll do it in 2 years. It's there and your staff know it's there, and it can be really unnerving. And actually, once you appreciate, and people react to change in different ways. And the best way to get everybody on the same page and all happy that they've arrived in a place that they can love, bringing loads of the stuff with them that they had before. It's not as though we're changing the nature of a person's business. We're not changing the clients. We're not changing the advisors. We're not changing the location. We're not changing, when you look at it, we're not changing all that much, right? But when any kind of changes in front of somebody, it will cause anxiety in some people. It will cause real incitement in some people, but it will cause anxiety. So the best way to bring everybody through onto the same page and work together is to get it done. Yeah, don't leave it out there. Get it done. So that's one reason. It's a human reason. It's probably the best reason. There are some complexities too with running two sort of parallel systems. So really boring stuff like if who's actually responsible for compliance, because if we're responsible for monitoring compliance, we want to do it in the way that we do it, and then we look and say, well, where are the files? Oh, we don't keep them there. We keep them over there. So there's a period of kind of chaos in the middle if you end up in a halfway house, and so you quite quickly end up with this sort of feeling of, well, we either integrate or we don't. How do you half integrate? It's quite difficult. I'm not saying it's impossible.
But I think the other thing, I see the main thing is about, culture. And we are key on culture and, everything that we talk about, and that's what we look at, right? And when we do an acquisition, the first thing we look for is the culture right? Because if that fits, everything else can fall into place, really, can't it? So how do you make sure, not you, we all do it, right? Even Nikos. But how do we make sure that the culture and values that we hold at FD are aligned and continue to be aligned as we grow at this rate?
I mean, it mostly involves selecting the right firms in the first place. And
True.
it mostly sticks out like a sore thumb when there's something that doesn't quite work. If an acquisition or a prospective acquisition takes more than 5 minutes to ask what our attitude towards their people is going to be and how we're going to make sure that their clients continue to receive a delightful service. If they haven't asked those two questions in the first conversation, they're probably not going to fit. It might sound a bit trite, just happens. People who talk about their clients all the time are generally going to love it here. People who talk about their staff needing development. We're talking to a firm at the minute, and one of the critical points for them is that they know they've got somebody who's in a key position, who's got nowhere to go. And to enable that person to continue to progress, and, you have to grow. I've said the same about FD in the past. It wasn't a choice. Should we grow or should we bob along? The people who were developing here were not going to bob along. They
No.
needed a bigger pitch to play on, right? So you've got to go and get one. Otherwise, actually, just things don't continue to progress. So it is all about the people. One of the problems with culture is a word is so overused, and people who have a culture that they treasure and they value and they nurture sound the same as a business that just pops it on their website if you're not careful, because everyone's using the same words, right? So when people arrive here, they feel the difference. It's quite difficult to convey that. We've got our IIP Platinum. It doesn't really matter what question you ask me. I will manage to get that in the
Absolutely. It's like playing a drinking game with you, really. There's certain words that you will get into everything. And I'm like, right, lovely, she's in.
So there's a lovely way of us just having an independent assessor say to us, yeah, you know what, you actually really do invest in your people and you really care about their engagement. There's things we do, we can point to, but... really, you've got to be here. You've got to come and feel it and feel the energy and feel the way that people care. And, you in our office, when something's gone wrong because you hear it, don't you?
Yeah.
You feel it. It's not a case of, it's just none of that. It's like, there's a sort of a walking towards wherever the problem is. So, we do our best, of course, to articulate it. But sometimes you've just got to come and find out.
No, absolutely. I always think that the other best question that they ask is, how much do we celebrate? How much do we meet? And then we always tell them about our celebration days and all the different events. And then they come along and they're like, oh, yeah, this works for us. This absolutely works for us. Come on a night out. We'll meet us. Everyone gets aligned very quickly.
Yeah.
And I mean, in terms of looking forward, I know firsthand the significance of AI and the adoption that Foster Denovo and you specifically have brought into in with it. I mean, how do you see it continuing to shape the future of financial advice and specifically the way Foster Denovo continues to operate?
Yeah, I mean, I've got excited by technology for the first time in absolute
This
ages.
is the other words for your drinking bingo, by the way, isn't it?
AI.
AI definitely comes in all the time.
Irrespective of what question you ask me. But you have actually just asked me about AI, so I think it's reasonable for me to talk about it at this point. I haven't really been very excited about technology in a long time. I think it's mostly overpromised and underdelivered. And even when it's delivered, it's kind of been uninspiring. And it's clearly absolutely essential. We can't do without it. I probably underestimate the benefit of even the boring tech that we use day in, day out. What's changed now is I think this technology is really exciting. And when we think about the difference that technology has made to our private lives, in how we consume, television, how we listen to music, all of those things that everyone talks about, how we shop, it's been radical. And actually, there hasn't been anything radical really happening at work. We sit there tippy-tapping information in and, it's all very dull. And now it isn't. So it's all about large language models. They're at the heart of AI, of generative AI. And what they allow us to do is to talk to technology as in a human manner. So AI makes humans more human. That's the strap line. That's the one that I use all the time. And what it enables us to do is to cut out really dull jobs so that we can concentrate on more value-adding jobs, improving our propositions, improving service to clients, making sure that people are always working on their unique ability. So it's not even touching the sides of what makes us brilliant at what we do. What it's doing is removing a layer of stuff that we wish we didn't have to do. So the note-taking tool that you're using, Nikos, says, okay, so you can record the conversation that you have. You then receive a summary of that conversation that you can send to your client, which clearly you check, I'm sure, very thoroughly, and you
Absolutely.
I'm delighted to hear it, and you
100%.
add your own tone to it and such. But the core of the summary is there. You then don't have to hand that over to the support team that look after you, in a laborious manner because it's already there, and they don't have to type it into our core system because it gets uploaded. I mean, there's nothing that's gone that anyone ever wanted to spend any time on.
No, absolutely.
So
I mean, it is significant, to be honest with you, because if you look at the hours that is saved, I mean, as a financial advisor, the busier you get, the better, but the more meetings you do, the more notes that need to be taken and written and actioned. And I think that being brought into the company was instrumental for me, piloting that and getting to experience it. It was really, really useful. I mean, are you looking to adopt it in any other areas moving forward?
yeah, so we've started in private wealth. It's going to second site imminently. And we haven't actually kicked the project off yet, but of course, people talk. So I understand there's already some people using it. So, of course, it's got some very clear uses in the second site in our employee benefits business as well. And there's more tech to come. We've already improved the efficiency of our report writing by 50%. Yeah, I know. That's cool. And again, if you look at a paraplanner's job, there's the really interesting stuff of researching and recommending and really understanding and working with the advisor, with the partner to get under the skin of what the client needs and what their priorities are. That's all really interesting stuff, right? And then there's the writing the report, slightly less so. So, it's that bit that we've made a difference to. It's the report writing's made a difference to. And again, it comes back to the growth business. If you're in a business that's shrinking or even just plodding along, and your management team start talking about efficiency, it can be really unnerving. We're sort of saying, no, this is we need this. So what we're looking to do is to grow and not recruit as many people, not looking to grow and, be smaller, be ridiculous. So, we're all running at AR. The whole team, the whole business is running towards it, embracing it, loving it, because it's taking tut away.
But it comes back to the culture, right? That is the culture of FD. You run with it. And I think fundamentally that's what's driving the growth here as well.
The other thing that's happened is our technology, and I suppose it got a big acceleration through COVID. We've very much modernized our technology so that we use a lot of the Microsoft tool set actually. But what it means is that things are much more connected. So we're in the process of building a hub that will be like the central work hub that our teams, our support teams will use. So um, advisors will be able to see exactly where their work is. There will be saving documents as they go along rather than having to think, I better go and put that in a folder now so that when compliance looks at it, it's in the right place. That job will just be gone because it will be done automatically. And that comes from investing in these clever tools so that all the information is being recorded, as well as being on a technology stack, as they say, that enables you to share that kind of information across lots of different applications. So it's kind of gone from, the technology, it does what we need it to do. We kind of can report to the regulator. We can answer our clients' questions, but it felt quite turgid, just quite slow. And all of a sudden we can see these breakthroughs happening all over the show. And they're taking, 2 or 3 months, 4 or 5 months, not all year. They're coming thick and fast.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, where do you see us in relation to our competitors? Because obviously I talk to lots of people in the market that might be looking to sell or other firms, etc. And I think you've talked about it before, but we feel ahead at the moment. Like when I talk to people, they're like, oh my God, that's what you're using. It's really exciting. And there's a lot of note taking that happens at the moment, isn't there? There's loads of different tools that all of the guys are using. And I know you've tried quite a few. But where do you see us in the whole gambit of AI and Foster Denovo?
Yeah, I mean, it is a little difficult to be precise because it's moving so fast.
No, sorry, I'd like an exact time frame, if you wouldn't mind.
We are 412% ahead of the
Excellent.
competition.
Thank you so much. You heard it here first.
Yes. And I say that with an authenticism that you would
I believed it.
Proud of. I don't know. We look ahead. Yeah. I hear from our suppliers that we're ahead. I think we adopt things quite quickly. When we decide to go for it, we go for it. So I think we're ahead. But the environment's changing a lot. There's new products appearing all the time. I'm very confident that we're ahead. And I think now, people, I'm really hoping will join our business and look at the technology as a real plus point.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, where do you see us going in the next couple of years then? Where do you see Foster Denovo moving? Because we constantly talk about acquisitions and growth and all that sort of stuff, but where are you seeing us?
Yeah, more of the same.
Right, thank you.
More of the same. I think, we want to be national. There are a couple of gaps on the map. So, we're looking to fill those gaps. So I'm hoping for a few more acquisitions this year, of course. And, more of the same, more propositions. I definitely can see the opportunity. So I was speaking with an AI specialist a couple of days ago, and some of the kit that they showed me, I hadn't got that far yet, right? So, for example, imagine being able to construct a letter to a client in a tone in a tone of voice that particular client engages with.
Wow.
That's kind of out there now. So, I can see how the bits fit together to be able to do that, but I hadn't got there. One thing I have seen is using avatars to effectively communicate more with clients. So instead of only having a letter, that they would kind of get a video clip that speaks to them. That, again, that technology is here. It's now. So I think there's loads of stuff coming where people now are realizing, oh, hang on a minute, if we do that and that and that, and we bring all the data together, we can certainly be looking for across our client bank for areas of need that might not have been served. We could look for gaps in the proposition. We could look at, well, we've got a bunch of clients here that still seem to have this need. Oh, hang on a minute, maybe we haven't tuned a proposition. So, right now we are looking to introduce 2 new propositions. One is digital advice, which seeks to, in the main, probably be in our workplace business. So in second sight, where there are members of firms that aren't yet in a place where their assets really are big enough to make our fees valuable. And so it's an entry level for them to go on. They can pay a relatively modest sum of money to get some digital advice. And they get access to an advisor if they want to speak to an advisor as well. But what they'll get through digitally is a plan that says, think about paying more into your workplace pension, for example, or think about the risk that you're taking in the fund that you've chosen. So, it's regulated advice. It's not guidance. And yeah, we're doing that. So we're also looking at a low asset value proposition. So noticing that through the consumer duty process, a number of our clients with small assets, it was difficult to deliver a service to them that met the consumer duty needs. And so now we're looking at what service can we do, and we're making really good progress. So having, if you can imagine, a set of information. And I say information, not just data, because it's all the conversations that are there that will be recorded and understood. All that information that you can mine to look for opportunities to help clients more. It's properly transformational, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's very exciting. I mean, I'm excited about the acquisitions, obviously, and taking on new advisors and all that sort of stuff. And I know you've been AI champion.
I love
you?
it.
So, I mean, it saved you a lot of time, hasn't it?
It
with
really,
what you've been doing.
me and the team, it's been honest, it's been amazing.
No, it's been great. Well, Helen, anything else to add? For the next 5 years, what's Foster Denovo going to do?
Don't ask me
Leading
5
question.
years. That's crazy. No one knows what's going to happen in 5 years' time. But it looks like it's going to be really exciting here. I can't honestly see a reason why we wouldn't continue to develop and grow in the way we are doing. There's loads of opportunity out there. And we have, a relatively young, can I say that? Well, the rest of you are relatively young. A group of people that love working together, love spending time together, love coming into the office, doing the do. So I see no reason why we can't just carry on.
No, I completely agree. It is exciting. That's for sure.
For sure.
Well, listen, thank you so much, Helen.
Thanks, Helen.
Good to see you.